I've been using the Galaxy Z Flip 5 for over a month now as my main phone, so I've done everything with it. Gaming, YouTube, messaging, maps, literally everything you can think of, but it might be time to say goodbye. When the Galaxy Z Flip 5 was announced, I was really excited because I thought, oh, here we go. Let's go and give Galaxy another shot, especially with the Z Flips. And because it had that bigger and better outer screen, I thought, okay, this could be the phone that takes me away from iPhone. And for the last month and a half or so, it has been. I've used this phone genuinely every single day. So I feel like I'm in a really good position to talk about what it's been like to use. And like I said, for me, it could be the end of the road. There's something about this phone, and it reminds me a little bit of a holiday. So when you first go on a holiday, or get the phone in this case, you really enjoy it, and your first thought is, God, I could live here. Then a couple of weeks in, you're like, oh, I couldn't live here. I just want to go home. And I feel like that, for me, is an iPhone, and I have just gone home and picked up an iPhone. Let's talk about the things that I really liked on the Z Flip 5 first of all. So the phone itself is still quite fun to use. The way you can flip it away and flip it open is still quite a novelty, and people I meet are genuinely curious about this phone. They want to know about it. They want to see it opening and flipping and closing, and people are curious about it. But with that flipping of the phone, that comes our first problem, because over the first few weeks when you're using the Z Flip 5, flipping it open and closed is actually quite fun. You like every single time you feel quite cool using it, but it does get a bit annoying because you can't flip this phone open with one hand. So if you're carrying something in one hand and you need to open the phone, it's almost impossible. You have to try and do it with your mouse. And it just gets a little bit tiring because the novelty wears off pretty quick, or it has done for me, at least in the first few months. And that hinge seems to get a little bit stiffer, or mine has at least got a little bit stiffer over the past few weeks. And I'm not sure whether there's some stuff that's in that hinge or not, or whether this just happens to these Z Flip phones, but it's not great. The other thing about it flipping and closing is that crease in the center of the phone, usually for 90% of the time, is absolutely fine and you don't really recognize it. But for some of the time, when you're scrolling up and down on this phone, I said it in the first review, you do notice it's there, but I seem to notice it's there more than usual. And I actually thought that crease had decreased in the first impressions video that I had of this phone, but it seems like it's still exactly the same as the old Galaxy Z Flip phones. One thing that I do really like though about the Z Flip 5, not to be negative for the entire video, I really do like that display. Take away the crease and feeling that sometimes, that 120Hz display is really quick, it's really nice, and I really do like the colors. So watching YouTube feels almost like a bit of a pleasure on the Z Flip 5. And being able to sit it down and watch a video whilst I do some cooking or I'm doing something else is actually really useful, and it's one of my favorite things about the phone. However, I think if the Z Flip 5 was easily opened with just one hand and one flip, then it's absolutely fine. It's not as much of a problem. But the fact that you always need two hands to really open it up makes it more of a hindrance than it does anything else. But as we're talking about the flippiness of the screen, the one thing that I still do really like is that outer display. So the outer display looks really good and is useful some of the time. Being able just to glance down and check the time on this, brilliant, really good with that always on display. And if you want to see your wallpaper and check it a bit more, double tapping is really useful as well because it shows you that on the screen. However, I have found using that outer screen not the easiest by any means. Usually a swipe to the right will show you all your notifications that have come in, but for some reason it just doesn't always work. You need to have a proper full swipe. It's not just a quick swipe. It has to almost be the entirely full length of the screen. And to use any of those widgets like the weather or go into anything else like Instagram or your messages, you always have to have your face recognized. So it always has to come through Face ID, or you have to put your PIN code in, which is irritating because sometimes you want that ease of not having to open the phone and just go on to that cover screen to potentially get to messages. But sometimes the Face ID doesn't work because it's not the best, which then means you have to put your PIN number in, and by that time you might as well have opened the phone up and just done what you were going to do. I have to say though, I don't want to just be negative about the phone completely, because I do really like the design. It's just that it's not practical for everyday use. It's more of a novelty, and trying to use it every single day doesn't really work. And I like that small form factor of the folded clamshell version of this phone, but overall, you pretty much do need it open all of the time. And that's what I've been doing. I've been putting it down with the phone open. Then I get scared that the screen's going to get damaged because it's so soft. So I feel like I'm always scared using this phone. The other problem that we have with this Galaxy Z Flip 5 is the battery life. Now, the battery life isn't huge on this phone, and it can struggle most of the time to get to the end of a day. Now, I will always get to the end of a day in single-digit percentage, so maybe 2, 3, 4%, and I'm not even using the phone that much. I'll be using it genuinely for watching a bit of YouTube, going on TikTok, and just like other day tasks. When I was on holiday, I was using this phone to check the maps all the time and use Uber and a lot of apps like that, and I would get so low in battery life by, let's say, early evening. I'd have to charge it up, and when I was trying to charge it up, it's not quickly chargeable either, so it just becomes a bit more, again, of a hassle than it does anything else. And I want a phone to last all day easily, but sadly the battery life on the Z Flip 5 just doesn't. The reason that I've gone to the iPhone is just because it synchronizes with everything that I have, with my MacBook, my Apple TV, my HomePods, my Apple Watch, everything, and it's just simpler and easier to use, and I really like the look of iOS. On the Z Flip 5, I made it look like iOS because I wasn't quite ready to let go, and then it just doesn't perform as well as iOS. It can be a bit laggy at times when you have to update the phone. So I updated it, switched it on, and for 5 minutes I couldn't do anything with the phone because it felt like it was just thinking what it had to do and thinking that it was a phone again. And little things like that are annoying. Then we get to another problem, and I feel bad for hating on this, but the cameras on this phone just aren't good enough. For the price of a Galaxy Z Flip 5, you can get yourself an iPhone 15 Pro, and that has much better cameras, and it has 3 cameras opposed to the 2 that you have on here. I really missed using that telephoto camera lens on the iPhone when I had this phone, because you have a main camera and you have that ultra-wide, but an ultra-wide is a bit pointless. It's just not for me. I don't really use it, and I really miss the zoom. And then you look at the quality of the photos, and they look fine. Like, I would never complain about it. They're not the worst photos in the world, but I know for the price I can get better photo quality. And Samsung is just not giving me that. And this is one of the main reasons why I'm going back to an iPhone and ditching the Galaxy Z Flip 5, because I love taking video with my phone. And now you can do ProRes log on an iPhone, and I'm never going to use it, but I know that it's there. And camera quality and video quality on an iPhone is just better. I don't want to hate on this phone completely, because if you like flip phones, then this is probably the best flip phone that you can get. But for me, I'm just not sold on it completely. There's something about it which is just making me miss a regular everyday phone. The battery not being as good as I want it to be, the cameras being nowhere good enough, and that the fact that its main function of flipping the phone open to use it is actually one of the most annoying things about the Z Flip 5. I've had the iPhone 15 Pro Max for literally a couple of days, and I already feel like I'm at home with the iPhone. I'll 100% go back to using the Z Flip 5 at some point, because I like to mix it up a little bit. But as an everyday phone, I just can't use it. And it's annoying because I really wanted to like it. But like I said, it's a bit like a holiday. You love it for the first couple of days, couple of weeks, then eventually you just want to go back home. And for me, the iPhone is home.